Welcome, everybody, to episode 5 of BTS Live. Stands for Behind the Scenes Live. I'm Marty Patton, along with my partner in crime, Mark Rogers. Hey, Mark.
How are you, Marty?
Very good. How are you?
I'm doing great. For the most part.
For the most part, yeah.
Issues aside.
Now, before we started the recording, we had a little, Mark's having some Chrome issues, and we'll certainly review that. We're trying to get him to go full screen, but anyways, that's neither here nor there. So anyways, we're both in Connecticut, and it's absolutely, it feels like it's like September.
It's downright balmy.
I'm looking at my watch. Right now it's 55 degrees according to the Weather Channel here where I am. And in December, if anybody knows Connecticut, we should be probably in the upper 30s, 40 maybe.
I think it's happening all over the place.
Yeah, many times it gets, many times we have snow. We haven't even had any measurable snow until.
I talked to my mom in Ohio yesterday. It was like in the high 60s.
Wow. Oh, boy. Oh, see, Night Rider lives in Florida. I see that I have a dream that I want to move there. I like warm weather.
Yeah, I do too.
Or maybe what I'll do is I also have a plan. Well, maybe I'll go. Your daughter's still okay, so you know about the cold weather. But I'm thinking maybe I'll do like south in the winter and north in the. I like Connecticut in the spring and summer. It's great. So, anyways, but just to give you guys a little background, we are both. I'm an ESPN alumni. I had almost 19 years there, and Mark is still there. And so we've had a lot of experience with video production, overseeing that type of thing. Mark is currently a supervisor, so he has a lot of the personnel stuff to deal with. But Mark's other experience has been on camera. You've been a sports anchor, right? And I think in some markets in the South and also in Ohio.
That's right.
So, and the whole idea for the show is we figured, okay, I do video production. I do live streaming for clients as part of our business. I'm full-time now in this. And so we figured, hey, why don't we put that together, and doing it on Blab. I know a lot of people are trying to get started, and we know that video can be intimidating, whether it's on camera or production. And so that's really the purpose of the show is to share video production tips and tricks, get you started, answer questions, and show you that it's not so bad and really anybody can do it. So, and Night Rider says, have you shoveled more your share, my share of snow? Yes, absolutely. And no snow yet this year, which is great. And I would not mind not having any snow at all this year. Past couple of years, it's been ridiculous. As Mark knows, he lives in the northern part of the state.
In my perfect world, I think I would go with maybe 2 inches of snow on New Year's Eve or on Christmas Eve, and keep it for about 2 days and then let it go. But if I had to choose that versus no snow, if I had to go no snow or what we typically have, no snow.
Yeah. Oh, no, at least this year, give us up. All right. I mean, we had points last year where I had 4 feet of snow in the yard at any one time, so it was ridiculous. Anyways, let's get on with it. Today's episode, on previous episodes, we've gone through equipment. Mark's gone through, some tips and tricks on how to present yourself on camera. We've gone through a lot of the basics. Now we want to go through some of the things we've learned in our time doing video, whether it's behind the camera or in front of the camera. And our experiences, our challenges, we've experienced plenty of challenges, and kind of share with you our experience and how we've overcome those challenges. So I normally start, but I told Mark we're going to switch it up today. We're going to start with Mark and kind of his experience. And Mark, I'm going to have you take it away, and I'm going to do your slides for you.
Marty, if we took a poll, I'm guessing that the biggest challenge for most people out there is time. For me, it's time. It's not even close. Sure, money's a challenge. Having more money would be great. Having more facilities, resources, all those could be bought with money. I could take some more talent. That would be nice. Maybe a little bit more talent, a little more intelligence would be good. But I think I can get by with what I've got. Time is just, it can't be generated. We can't generate any more time, so we have to make the best use of our time. So I really thought about this last night in particular and started to think about, okay, how does the typical content creator who's building their own business, or whether you want to do this as a hobby and are just trying to create quality content, or if you want to build this into a brand, into a business, time is of the essence. You have to utilize your time in the best way. This is something I'm still figuring out. So I am not preaching to anyone else in regards to I've got it mastered, because in no way do I have this mastered. I am learning, continue to learn day to day on the fly, because I think it starts with content. Content is king. So if you don't have good content, you really don't have anything. You can build the nicest looking sets, which I have yet to do. You can have the best audio and video quality and equipment at your disposal. You can have great facilities. You can do all these things. You can build a business. You can have a great business mind. You can be a marketing person. But if you're creating content and your content's lousy, then you will eventually show yourself and you will be exposed. So content's king. So I think most of us who are content creators, even though we've got to market ourselves, we've got to brand ourselves, we've got to build relationships with people, we've got to understand the business end, we got to make money, we need to work on technical issues and enhancing the technical and the operational and doing all these other things. We want to focus on the content. So just think about all the things that go into creating quality content. Idea creation is paramount. We've talked about it in the past. Personality-driven shows versus informational-driven shows. That's something you have to figure out, how much of it is your own personality driving the content versus how much of it is the actual information involved. So idea creation. And this is something that I struggle with because I am just cranking out content constantly, and I need to stop every so often, and I need to assess what's valuable, what's not of value, where am I spinning my wheels versus what content has really struck a chord with the audience and gained response. And maybe what can I do different? I've been doing the same thing over and over and over and over, and maybe it works to a certain extent. Maybe it's functional, maybe it's good, but maybe it can be better. Let's shoot for the best. So you need to take some time for idea creation. Get creative. Express yourself. Think about what's your best and what's possible. Just keeping up with the latest news. For me, that's college football. I've got a college football channel. I'll put a plug in right here. Mark Rogers TV on YouTube. College football. So for me, it's college football. Just keeping up with the day-to-day news is mind-boggling. So there you go. Just to keep up. So you need to devote a certain amount of time to keeping up with whatever your genre is, whatever your topic. The research involved, beyond just reading the news and the headlines and keeping up, it's the research involved to present your topic at an expert level. You got to devote time to that. The writing of it, if there's any writing involved, the organizing of the topics that we've talked about this in the past. You don't want to just rant and ramble and endlessly run on with a subject. You want to have a concise but thorough and very formulated bullet point approach to presenting and organizing your topic. So you got to think about that. That takes time. It takes time to practice and rehearse, and sometimes that's uncomfortable, and we talked about that in previous episodes. But especially if this isn't something you're used to doing, you need to rehearse, you need to practice, so you got to set aside time for that. We got pre-production. We've got scheduling of guests. So for me, I've got an active list of 50 to 75 bloggers, writers, and broadcast people that I bring on my show. So just that back and forth of, how about Thursday at 3? No, can't make it. How about Tuesday at noon? No, sorry, can't make that. How about these times? Just the scheduling of guests and maintaining those contacts and scheduling out your week, that takes time. I'm not giving you any answers right now. I'm just giving you things to consider in formulating your time. Post-production on your videos or audio podcasts, that takes time, whether you need to edit, put in fonts and graphics, the tags. I have a very streamlined process and approach. And as Marty would tell you, it's very simple. There's not a whole lot of post-production to it, but even the little bit of post-production I do, and I can pretty much write as fast as I can type. Doesn't take me long to write something, to write the description, the title, to put in fonts, to put in tags, and then to submit to all the different platforms that I submit my videos to, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, on and on and on. There's about 3 or 4 other sites, whether they're SB Nation sites or other websites that I post to, Last Word on Sports. That takes time. Then I've gotten to a point where I am cranking out so much content at this point, I have to start thinking about what's really valuable and what's not. I've had to start to prioritize different guests that I bring on, where there was a point when I just started, I just wanted guests. I was just grabbing whatever guests I could get. Now I've got 50 to 75, so I've got to prioritize the content. I don't get to all the content I want to create, so that becomes a concern. So that's all under content and utilizing your time most effectively. Those are things that you need to think about in regards to the content portion of it. Then point number 2, we've got social media, we've got marketing, and this is something that Marty really helped me with in the early stages. We have to have a presence. This is not the old days of ABC, NBC, and CBS. You are not in the homes of hundreds of millions of Americans and beyond. You need to grab an audience, so you need to be present and effective on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube, Periscope, all these different platforms, Blab. And so how do you do that? Well, we're not going to get into the hows and whys on this particular show. We're going to grind it down in future weeks, but I'm just presenting kind of a broad view of how you spend your time and how you need to spend your time. So the social media and marketing aspect of building your brand on different social media platforms is very, very important, and building a mail list, building your list. And that's something Marty can definitely speak to and will in future weeks as well. Relationship building. And again, this is something that Marty's taught me and done a tremendous job with. So most of that comes through social media, the relationship building. We don't know these people. You meet tons of people. I've met tons of people through social media. Marty's taken it to another step in regards to, and what's really, this has stuck with me, something that he's told me from way back, is his business exploded, expanded, really took that next step and that large leap when he took the social media contacts that he had made and he went out and met these people face to face. So the relationship building aspect is huge. The professional development. So consider this professional development right here. You come on Blab, you join Marty and I each and every Monday at 2 o'clock Eastern time, and this is professional development. There are books out there, there are sites, there are all sorts of ways to enhance your professional development. So that's time invested that you need to look at. I'm going to use my son as an example of this next point I want to make in regards to under relationship building, the sharing of ideas and helping others. So you always want to have the mindset that you can help others. No matter what place you are in your own professional development, you can always be in the mindset of interacting with others and helping other people. Be open to help other people. Marty's another great example of that. I keep pointing to Marty during a lot of these bullet points, but this is something where he has helped me tremendously, has always had the time to help me out, as have other people. And it's amazing. And you'll be able to sort out the really, truly good people out there versus the not so good people when you interact with them and you start to get a feel for who's willing to share their time and share their talent and their knowledge. So you need to be one of those people. The reason I was going to bring up my son is that he is a tremendously talented artist. He's 18 years old and he's really good, but he's very inexperienced. And he's not understanding at this point that he needs to surround himself with like-minded people. So that's what you need to do, is surround yourself with like-minded people who share the same passions, the same interests. It doesn't have to necessarily be the same topic, like Marty and I collaborate all the time. Well, he's not talking about college football, but we're in the same mindset in regards to building a business, building a community, helping others, sharing with others, relationship building, being an entrepreneur. All right, next up, you got your business. So I'm going to be very brief with this, but it's part of it. So the more successful you are, unfortunately, maybe the more time you're going to have to spend toward this. But there's bookkeeping, there's taxes to consider for record keeping, upgrading equipment, shopping for equipment and operational needs. I'm getting to this point where I need to start thinking just slightly less about the content and a little bit more like a business person. How do you make money doing this? Again, we've talked about this in previous weeks. What are your goals and aspirations? So it depends. Maybe you don't need to think like a business person at all because this is a hobby, and that's great as well. Production, operational, technical, that takes up time. Enhancing your look, your sound. This is something I've not spent a whole lot of time doing, but need to in the future. But it takes time. So how much time are you going to devote to enhancing the look and the sound of your show? And lastly, and it seems to be way off the radar, but it has to be included or you're going to grind yourself into the ground. You need to take time to relax and rejuvenate. So if you're on here, which you are listening to us, most likely, if you're not a workaholic, you're a hard worker. And most of us are. And we're ambitious and we want to achieve and we can't work hard enough. But you need to schedule time to get exercise, to sleep, to rest. Those are two different things. To sleep, to rest, whether that's, I'm a spiritual person, so whether that's meditation, praying, just being quiet, being alone, hobbies that you enjoy, not stressful hobbies you enjoy. Again, exercise, schedule time to get away. It's a sprint. A lot of people think successful business people and productive people are marathon runners. We're not marathon runners. Yes, overall, over the long stretch of a career, you can look at it as a marathon, but truly productive people are laser focused for hours at a time. Then they get away, they decompress, they rejuvenate, then they go back at it. It's a sprint. Hardworking, successful people are laser focused in short increments of time, and that's a sprint. So those are my suggestions. Again, didn't really grind down to how to be successful in each one of these areas, just for food for thought in regards to how do you spend your time. You need to think about all these aspects of the process of building your business and building your brand.
Boy, so I mean, you raised a lot of great points there, Mark. And a couple that I want to echo that you said were surrounding yourself with like-minded people. I can't emphasize that enough, especially in the sense of with you, Mark. You know, your time is probably your most valuable asset at this point, because you work in a full-time job away from what you're doing as far as college football videos and your YouTube channel, and also even this. So prioritization and being real careful with that and really, planning that out is crucial. But also, you, as far as people around you, and I love how you told the story about your son, which is so important. I have two grown kids, early 20s, and they're finding their way as well. And, you give that advice, and so important, because, you've heard that expression, you're most like the five people you hang around with most. And then if you're trying to build something like where you're trying to build a side project and hopefully make it full time, if that's your goal, you need people around you to encourage you and to be honest with you as well. You want that honest feedback. And Mark and I talk all the time, and I think we help each other in that respect. And I have, other people, and you want to have that core group of people that are going to be honest with you, but also, encourage you and support you. You don't need people that don't believe in what you're doing. You need people that are going to give you honest feedback and honest support. That's called Mastermind. Alexia mentioned that. That's a great idea. You know, a lot of people create mastermind groups, and that's basically a group of like-minded people to get together, encourage each other. And it could be about any topic at all, but that's a great idea because you kind of feed off each other, you know. And also what you're mentioning, Mark, with social media, those are some great tools because it makes it possible to get with people that you normally wouldn't be able to meet in person in the same physical location all the time, you know. And also what you said about, you know, our business, you know, we've gotten basically 100% of our business through social. I've been involved in social since like 2007, you know, with Twitter and going from there. And it's this constant learning process. And there was something else you said, and I completely lost my train of thought of what I was going to
I said a lot.
echo what you're saying. But you bring up a lot of great points, you know, and I'm going to take it the next leg here, and I'm going to talk from my experiences on the production level and kind of what I've experienced over time. So I like to kind of call this learning from my experience and what I've experienced to this point. And a lot of this is over the past probably 3 or 4 years, even not even including my ESPN experience, but more about when I decided to start my business. And now that I'm full time and what I've learned, some of the challenges I've been involved with. And I break it down this way. And I think if you're going to get involved in anything, and this a lot of this can apply also to anything you're doing, you know, but I'm going to apply it to video production. So you certainly have to have the desire to do it. If you're going to do video, you know, you have to want to do video, especially if you're just starting out. It can be intimidating. We talked a little bit about the pre-show. I think a lot of people get stopped because they think it's too difficult, or they get wrapped up in the equipment, or whatever the reason is, you know, or just even going on camera. But you have to want to do it, certainly. And as far as the topics that you choose, if you're doing something like Mark's doing, where he makes videos about college football, that's his passion. You have that passion for the topic. And the question I would like to ask, or I ask myself, is would I do it for free? And this is the question I asked Mark. And Mark, you know, you remember that when you first started, like, well, you know, we should be doing this on YouTube. I know it was probably like 5 years ago now. And the first question I ask you is, would you do it for free? You know, and you said yes, and that was a good thing. That's why I knew, you know, that we could go forward with it, and that you would put the time and effort into doing it. And it's been a long road, you know, but you enjoy doing it. You do a lot of video. I mean, how many videos have you done, Mark, so far?
I've got about 1,800 videos.
Over like 5 years?
Yeah, in the typical week. And that's, I've really been laser focused for the last 2.5 years. So in the typical week, I will produce about 3 to 4 videos a day. Mm-hmm. I will do about 20 videos per week.
And that's got to tell you something right there, you know. And he's been doing it for 5 years. He's doing a ton of content. And again, if you like it, if you're passionate about it, if you would do it for free, it's probably a good topic. I would stay away from, and I made this mistake very early when I first started blogging, is don't go for a topic that you think is hot, that you don't have any passion for, because you're going to quit it. You're going to give up on it in a few months, and you're not going to be in it long enough to see the results. So pick something that you're passionate about. Also, with video, it's a lot of work to create quality content and have a quality presentation. So if you're just starting out, be prepared for that. You know, when we prepare for the show, I mean, we're not just coming on here and giving you information. You know, one of the things that we talk about all the time is, you know, we value your time. You're here giving us your time and attention. We better make sure that we have some content to give you that's valuable and that's worthy of your attention. And so if you're doing a show, especially if you're doing it for business or professional reasons, you know, that pre-production, like Mark mentioned earlier in his remarks, you have to prepare and you have to make sure that you know what you're doing. I would say this, I mean, also know the topic. You know, I would probably, if you're doing a video like this where it's live, if you can talk off the cuff, it's even better. But have some notes, have some bullet points. I know Mark just had bullet points that he was going. He knew his topic. I just have bullet points in front of me, these slides. So I already know what I'm going to say and what I'm going to talk about. And also, lastly, on this desired topic, persistence and patience, I think are two keys here. if you're building or you're any type of creation, especially in video, and you want to go on YouTube, or you're doing a blab show, or you're doing any kind of live streaming, it's going to take a while to build an audience. You're going to talk to yourself for a while. So that's why you better like the topic that you're talking about. Mark has experience with this. I mean, you were talking in the beginning, you were talking to yourself, you know, and then you tell the story where through your persistence and patience, you built up this group of people that you can bring on your show. You got a ton of contributors that are ready to go. Almost too many. You're juggling, you know, so you don't have any problem finding people to come on. But that didn't happen in day 2. You know, that took a while. So the 2 P's, patience and persistence, is so key. That's why you need to be passionate about what you're doing. Another thing that I think is a challenge, and certainly a challenge for me, was equipment. You know, you obviously need something to do video. You know, you need a camera, you need a microphone, all that stuff. I would say this, you know, in the beginning, you want to start simple. What do I mean by that? Well, a camera, then this is an example, and a lot of people probably heard about this camera, Logitech C920. It's been around a long time. It's a web camera, probably about $60 on, if you search on Amazon. I have no affiliate links for you, but it's an easy camera to find. You search on Amazon, probably about $60. Plug and play, USB, great webcam, Knight Rider says. I totally agree. Great way to start. Very clear picture, HD quality. Get one of those. And I would stay away from, if you really want to do something good, I would stay away from the built-in cameras on your computers. And I use a Mac, and they say they have 720p cameras on there, HD. These cameras are far better, and they're not a lot of money. If you're serious, I would get this to start. And then a microphone. I mean, this is a great choice here. We've talked about this before. Audio-Technica ATR 2100. It's probably anywhere from $35 to $50 on Amazon. If you search that on Amazon, you'll be able to get it. You know, and it's funny, these microphones have gotten very popular, so the price fluctuates on these things. And Knight Rider, I couldn't agree more. Another excellent choice. The reason why is it's simple. It's a USB microphone, plug and play, no drivers needed. It works on Mac, PC. You plug it in, you select the source when you go live, and you're ready to roll. And again, the characteristics of this microphone makes it really a good choice to work in non-studio environments. You don't need special studio. You don't need special tech. You just need to get up there about 3 inches away and talk right into it, and you're good to go. And it sounds great, and it's cheap. So those 2 choices there. So the equipment really shouldn't matter. The other 2 things I would mention on equipment is you want to have, you know, a decent computer. Video does take some resources to run. You might notice on Blab, sometimes people have trouble connecting or they buffer. That may be their internet connection, but it may be their computer because of the resources it takes to encode. You're uploading and downloading multiple streams. So if you have a late model computer, I would recommend an i7 processor if you can get it. You know, MacBook Pros have it and whatever. But you know, the late model computer should work, decent amount of RAM. But the other one, you know, if you can get a wired internet connection, that always works better than wireless. It's going to give you a interference-free connection. So that's really all you need. Make sure your room is lit decently. I'm not even talking about lighting. You know, just have some lights on. Nice. Make sure your face is lit. Make sure your background, you're not against either a bright background or a dark background, and you're ready to rock. I mean, it's that simple. The next area is knowledge. You know, as I just demonstrated here, it's not that hard to do. It really isn't. You know, start simple. Webcam, that simple microphone, you know, and you're going to get a nice, clean production. I would say I call it clean and simple with your webcam and mic. I would stay away from special effects. I know one of the things I'm popular on Blab is a lot of people use Cam Twist, Manicam, XSplit. If folks in here, you may have heard those words before. Those applications, they're all video-based applications that allow you to switch and do lower thirds and do picture-in-picture and all that stuff, and it's great. But if you don't have a clean, simple, clear picture, nice, clear audio, the special effects are meaningless, you know, and I would always say start with your basics first. Get that down. And then, of course, just start, you know, just start doing content. You know, if you're passionate about what you're doing, you have just a decent webcam, decent mic, you're ready to go. You know, so just start and talk about things and create content around things you love to do, and you'll build an audience. In fact, that's really what you really want to do, because you really want to build an audience that connects with you personally. And the other thing I would add to that is just be yourself. I know it sounds cliche, and so many people are worried about what they look like, how they sound. Everyone's going to be different. That's your selling point. You know, your uniqueness is your selling point. You might, and it takes a while to. I was always like very self-critical about how I looked, how I sounded, and you're gonna usually to yourself you sound strange. It's just how it is in recorded video, recorded audio. But once you get over that hump and you do it for a while, you will get over it. Then it's clear sailing, and then you'll find that most people are very supportive of what you're doing. If you're honest and you're authentic, and you have a passion for your topic, it'll show through on what you're doing, and you'll attract the right audience. Now that's why you have to be passionate, because it's going to take a while to do. So you will attract, and Blab is a great place to start because it's simple, but there are plenty of other platforms, and I would experiment with everything out there. And the good news is 2016, I think there's going to be a lot more happening, not only on Blab, but a lot of platforms. And it's going to be a very exciting time in video. So, certainly just start, and that's how you build it. And then lastly, learn and evolve. I call it ABL, always be learning. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the movie Glengarry Glen Ross. The term "always be closing," ABC, is a mantra in that movie. The characters say it, and it's about real estate and always be closing your sales, right? But always be learning. A lot of people consider myself advanced user, as far as production techniques. Anybody who's seen me, I have the TriCaster, I got all this fancy gear and all that stuff. I'm still learning. I mean, I still always want to get better. I still want to test things out. And the best thing you can do is just learn, connect with like-minded people. I've connected with so many cool people here, production pros and things. We learn from each other, and I never want to stop learning. Because again, it's always changing, so you always want to learn. I'll use a sports analogy. Always be moving the ball down the field 1 yard at a time. And Mark, being Mr. Football, he knows this. But you don't want to be losing yardage, or you don't want to be standing still. You're not going to score that touchdown. You're not going to gain. You don't have to score a touchdown on the first play, but always be moving that ball down the field, and eventually you'll get it in the end zone. And the end zone's not the end of it. I'm just using that as an analogy to keep going, keep learning. In my opinion, you never arrive. You always are, especially with this video stuff, whether it's behind the camera or in front of the camera, I don't think you ever arrive. It's always a constant learning experience, and there's always something new to learn. In fact, this week I've discovered like 2 other video platforms. I'm experimenting. It's crazy, but it's fun. I love doing it. I love helping people. Both of us do. So that's kind of my rundown as far as our experience and what we've had. Now, I know in future shows, Mark, I know we talked about this. We'll go into some of these particular bullet points in more detail, and you can probably make whole shows out of individual bullet points you have, right?
Yeah, that was my thought as I started to go through this last night, that each one of these within the bullet points could be specific shows, or a group of them could be specific shows. And the one thing that you had in there amongst all of it is just to start. So I know 2 people right now who are very capable. They're operationally sound, more sound than they give themselves credit for. They present themselves well on video, but they're waiting for the perfect storm to arrive. I guess they're just waiting for everything to align, and they just need to get going. And maybe I erred on the other side of it, where I had nothing and I started. So I was.
Yeah, tell folks how you actually started.
Okay,
Kind of demo it.
So the real quick backdrop would be I've got 10 years of broadcasting experience at local affiliates. I was currently doing some work on the side for ESPN.com. Marty saw it. He was like, "What are you doing? You know, you should be doing this all the time. You should be having your own website, YouTube channel, all this other stuff. You don't need a big plant. You don't need the big facilities. Get started." So I took him right then at his direction, and I had an iPhone 3. So this was in 2000. This was at the beginning of 2010. I shot my first video in January of 2010. I still had an iPhone 3. I didn't even know how to trim the video. I just held it in front of me, clicked start, talked, clicked end, and that was my video, and I uploaded it to YouTube. For the first, people didn't realize this, you know, because I was gaining within a few months hundreds, thousands of viewership, and I was still operating on a phone. My laptop crashed, and I didn't have a laptop even for like, I don't know, 6-9 months, something like that. I was operating strictly off an iPhone 3, doing everything, didn't even know how to trim the video, just start, talk, click it off, and I was starting to get hundreds of views on videos.
It's funny, Mark, because you started the iPhone. I think it was a 3G. It was. I don't think it was even HD.
No.
And you didn't have. I mean, I don't know how you did this, where you held it out in front of you like that, steady hand, using the front-facing camera, which I think in those days it was not very high resolution, and you had to start it and stop it, just kind of standing there, no trimming. And many of these you did in. I mean, obviously, you had to do it in single take, and then you uploaded it from your phone.
Yeah, so I'm going to guess. I'm going to go back and count at some point, but I would guess my first 60, 80, 100 videos were shot like that. And I would say even the first half of those, what was funny was when Marty showed me that there was a trim function. Oh, I thought that was the greatest thing in the world. I could at least rest my hand and my arm for a few seconds and then, you know, get myself set and then exhale and deliver it. But when he showed me the trim function, because before it was just like 3, 2, 1, boom.
For my friend Knight Rider in the chat there, and absolutely God's honest true story. It was. I'm always amazed at what Mark was able to do, because he not only was he able to do it in smooth presentation, but he was able to hold it out in front of him without shaking the phone. And these videos would go on, you know, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. I would think a lot of the early videos.
Yeah, longer than that too.
There you go, you know, and no trim function, and you're able to hit that stop and upload it from the phone, no editing. And we relate that story as an example of what's possible, you know. So you don't need a lot of fancy equipment or certainly anything like that. But, you know, the two things I mentioned before, you know, you can probably pick that up for less than $100. And I mention it because a lot of people want to do it professionally. And there's I'm trying to come up with like a minimum investment to get you started. And you do those two things, and it gives you tremendous presentation quality. Then you can work on your content and your on-camera presence and go from there. Now, I'm going to invite people to come in. Anybody wants to come in and ask a question, you can ask a question in the chat by typing /Q space and then your question. I know there was Alicia, I think she had possibly a question. I'm not sure if she's still in the room. She might have taken off. But if anybody has any questions that they want to put in there, it doesn't have to be about anything we talked about today, but anything general as far as video production behind the camera, in front of the camera, we'd be happy to take that now. But certainly we'll do a lot of, this was kind of a little departure show, more about the philosophy, some of the things we've learned in our experiences as far as doing video production, and also, Mark, what you've had experience as far as doing your own YouTube videos, building it from ground zero and building it from there. And yeah, I mean, I would think, you know, I don't know for you, Mark, I would think summarizing kind of what I went through is you want to start simple and clean production, I think, is the best. And it's not hard. A good quality webcam, Logitech C920, great choice. A good, decent quality microphone, don't have to spend a lot of money. Audio-Technica ATR 2100 is a great choice, very inexpensive. Certainly internet, wired if you can. A decent computer, late model computer, because video it does take some processing. So if you have that, that's really all you need. And we can get into some of the other production techniques, but that gets you on there and that gets you going. And that's half the battle starting. I would stay away from fancy effects in the beginning, get the foundation down. And I know Mark talked a lot about, you talked a lot about being passionate about your subject. For you, it's college football, because you're going to be doing it for a long time, right? So,
yeah,
I think
as I tried to point out today, and I didn't come up with any answers. These are just things to be considered at this point. Your time is your most valuable asset, and your most your stiffest challenge to deal with. So you really need to assess what you want to accomplish, what your purpose is, and how you're going to, again, we talked about content creation. We talked about your social media and your marketing aspect, your relationship building, which obviously overlaps that, your business, devoting time to the operational upgrades, the technical aspect of it, and then taking some time away to rest and rejuvenate, and then being able to schedule yourself out. So don't get frustrated. Stay with it. Don't get frustrated, because as Marty says, you keep moving down the field. You may have to take a 2-yard loss at times, but just keep plugging away. Don't get frustrated, and keep moving ahead.
Yeah, and to add what Mark said about that is take small steps. You don't have to score a Hail Mary touchdown all in one play. Certainly, and don't get intimidated by folks like myself, who has a fancy green screen and fancy production techniques. That I didn't start out like this by any stretch. I started out by just getting making videos with. I think I used my iPhone. Oh, you know what? When I first started for our business, I used a little Kodak Handycam. It was like one of those little I forget what they call it, but it was just a simple 1-button recorder. I plugged in a microphone or whatever. I got that because it could take an external microphone, and I did very simple videos in the beginning just to get the production process down. And then I taught myself podcasting, and I didn't do it to get viewers. I did it actually just to learn the process of creating video, creating audio, hosting it, creating a website, all that stuff that you normally do. And then I worked my way up into live, all the way to today, where I actually do it as part of my job, as part of our business. Work with clients to do live production or pre-produced. But again, it wasn't a start today and get there tomorrow type of scenario. It just doesn't work that way. Knight Rider had a great question, Walter, and this is probably for you, Mark. How do you get comfortable and not feeling weird talking into the camera? This is probably I would imagine one of the more common questions you get.
It really is. And I have to think way, way back. So give away my age here. So I started in 1991 is when I graduated from college and went right into a local TV market as a news anchor and sportscaster. So even before that, I was somewhat comfortable with the camera from working at college stations and having internships in local markets. So basically, they talk about looking through the camera. There's also a thought process that you need to visualize an interpersonal conversation. So a one-on-one conversation with somebody, not that you're speaking to a mass audience, not that you're supposed to kind of bow yourself up and be Mr. News Anchor, that you're yourself, as Marty indicated. We've talked in previous shows about how to enhance what you have, not to be Mr. Broadcaster, but just to enhance your voice and your look and all those other things. And we'll get into that in future episodes again. So you want to enhance the best that you have, but it's something that you just have to do time and time again. And this is where even it's uncomfortable for most people to rehearse and practice by themselves. But if you're at the point where you need to overcome that obstacle and that barrier and become more comfortable, then you need to rehearse and practice when it's not being recorded. And you also then need to get reps in front of real recordings, and that's going to take it away. But just view it as a personal conversation that you're having with a friend or a family member, and that's going to be your best mind game trick to get yourself past just looking into a camera and trying to communicate to a camera. Think of it as a personal conversation.
I think that answers it very well. And I can tell you from my experience now, not being an on-camera pro at all, and relying on Mark for a lot of input and help in that area. And that's what's great about what we're doing. We kind of help each other in each area. It's practice is a big one. I think it's just doing it and getting over that hump. There is definitely a hump there. It's that nervousness that you think you're speaking to all these people, and you do it a few times, and then you start getting some feedback. And frankly, what I've run into is 99% of the people out there are with you. They want to see you succeed, especially if you're offering something of value that people want to consume or helpful. And Rob Hicks, I'm going to say, much easier with far end participants overlaid in front of the camera. Yes, absolutely. I think the more you do it and just getting over that hump, you see a lot of times what you hear is if you want to develop a good habit, you do it for like 21 days. I think that's the number. And then it becomes a habit. It's sort of similar to what I found with being on camera. I'm not a natural on camera guy like Mark is. Mark has done this professionally. I'm not. But what I found is just doing it and getting comfortable and just getting used to it. And then watching that's another thing I think is important. You got to get into the habit of watching yourself back on video and not necessarily be hard on yourself, but just to kind of pick out little things you may want to improve. The other thing is, I think it's very important to be yourself, play up on your best assets because that's really your big differentiator. I would avoid copying people. Yeah, I hate using teleprompter glass. Yeah, and that Rob brings a very good point about teleprompters. I mean, that's an art form in itself. Mark has, I'm sure, you've used plenty of teleprompters in your time. Oh, yeah. And to the whole technique of using it and to avoid that you're kind of going around like this. And I know there are probably techniques that, Mark, that you use and you learn. And that's, Mark, I think, Rob, I think you gave us a topic for a future show.
Well, yeah, check out some previous shows as well, because we've talked about presentation. We've talked about presenting yourself in various, we pretty much addressed most of these across the board on previous shows, and we'll talk about it more in future shows. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm with Rob Hicks there. I'm not terribly love watching myself either, but I can't say that I do it all the time now because I do more video. And it gets easier, and especially when you're getting that positive feedback from people. And as long as you're not too self-critical, as far as don't look at, believe me, people do not notice every little thing you notice because you're living with yourself. You notice every little flaw. People aren't looking at that. They're looking at the overall package, and they're looking at how you present yourself and what makes you you. And that's what I would say also is accentuate that and avoid copying people. I see a lot of people, I think, that try to copy something that they see, and they try to do it exactly the same as that person that's very successful, either doing live shows or produce. I would say be inspired and not copy. So you can be inspired by someone. And I'll throw a name out here, and I'm gonna put the address in the chat bar as soon as I find it, because one of the people that I'm inspired by, and I'm just getting the his website here. And he's just recently come on Blab, is this guy that I'm going to put in the chat bar there. The Tech Buzz, Stephen Hayward is his name. And I've connected with him here. And I've actually watched him for years. He's a great example of starting and building as you go. I would recommend that you check out his site. He does several shows that are live, that are streaming on multiple what's called CDNs or multiple services, along with doing Blab. He has a very professional studio that he's built one piece at a time. And he's extremely helpful as far as getting people started, and will answer questions. You'll see him on Blab quite often, and there's several people like that here. But he's definitely one I would check out. I'm going to be heading out. Have a 3. Oh, no problem, Mark. Wait, we're gonna shut this down because Mark has a show at 3:00. So I want to thank everyone for coming.
Yes,
if you want to bump out, Mark, I can take Alexia's question. I don't know if you need to bump out, but
Again, I'd like to encourage everyone, if you're interested in all of this, and we were a little bit more technical in previous shows. We covered tons of what we talked about just in the last few minutes on previous episodes. And again, we're going to address these in different forms coming up in the future as well. So thanks, everyone.
thanks, Mark. I'm going to stick around there. I'll let Mark out of here. I'll X you out, Mark. All right. So anyway, I'll stay on for a little bit. Alexia's coming on, so let's get Alexia here. Hey, Alexia, how are you?
Hi, good. Now I can tell my followers because I jumped in.
There you go. Absolutely.
So
let me follow you here. Let me just.
You guys are doing a good job, and I just want to tell everybody.
Thank you.
So that was one reason to come on the screen. So I have a couple of 3 little questions. One is background.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are you using a green screen?
Yes. In fact, you know what? I will be happy to demo that. Let me go to my other shot here and show you what it actually looks like. So this is I'm not in a fancy studio, of course. It looks like I built this $10,000 or $1 million studio, but that's my green screen. Now, wait, you can't really see it. Oh, darn it.
It's black.
You can't,
okay. I know what it looks like.
No, this is what's great about Blab. So that's my green screen, right?
Okay.
That's what it actually looks like behind me. Now, it only goes out a certain width, and you can't see the full width, unfortunately. But it's just enough for me. It just goes up a little bit beyond where my arms are. Mm-hmm. And then I'm using what's called a TriCaster switcher. It's by NewTek. It's basically an all-in-one switcher. Now what I did there was I'm turning on what's called the live mat or the chroma key, and what it's doing is that's why you choose green. Green is not a very unnatural color. So what the principle behind it, and let me go on my other shot here. The principle behind it is it basically takes everything that is green or that color and replaces it with whatever else you want to put in there. So I have this slide, and I'm actually going to go to that slide now. So I'm using this slide here. This is my slide. This is just a still frame, an image. And what I do is I can come in front of it, and everything that's green around me gets cut out. I basically get cut out, and then anything behind me shows through. So that's originally it's called chroma key, and it's basically the reason why it's called that is it's keying on the chroma, a certain color, and so that's how I'm getting that effect. And I think you had some other questions there. You can do this with software in your computer, and that'll be something we get into on a future show, certainly in more detail.
Okay, yeah, I've done green screen. I did a documentary about an Oscar-nominated animator, and I actually put all my interviewees in front of green screen, and then I put his artwork behind it. I did that in post. Perfect. Versus live.
Excellent.
So is that really what you suggest? Because I was thinking about painting my wall.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that too. I mean, I happen to get my green screen is like a green felt material that I got, and it has a portable frame. And the reason I got this particular setup is you can fold it into a bag and take it with you on the road, and so I can be mobile with it. But frankly, it doesn't necessarily even be green. Any color that's not going to be appearing anywhere else in your shot would work.
Okay. And yeah, I have a green screen.
Oh, perfect. And it doesn't have to be expensive. I mean, there are people that use a $20 piece of green cloth and hang it up by pins or like a curtain rod will work. It doesn't have to be fancy.
Cool. My second question is, what kind of mic do you have, and how does that work? Because I have a Mac laptop. I plug in my little. So is it just, how do you hear even though the mic is in?
My mic here is a Heil PR40. It is a dynamic microphone, and basically, and I'll just go through this real quickly. You basically 2 types of mics that are in use today. There's other types, but the main 2 types are a dynamic pickup and a condenser pickup. Main difference is a condenser is very sensitive. A lot of condenser mics you'll see in USB mics for computers, or one popular one is the Blue Yeti that you might have seen on people using on. That's a condenser mic. The advantages are it's very sensitive. Many of them are USB, so they plug right into the computer. And that's also a disadvantage, that their sensitivity, because they tend to pick up a lot of room noise. So if you're not in an optimized environment, you'll get a lot of echo and a lot of room noise. I use this mic here. This is a dynamic microphone. And the reason I do is not only is dynamic mic means it's not as sensitive, certainly. It doesn't require any power to run. So you have to kind of get up on it a little bit and work it. This is a front firing microphone, so the element's right here. There are other microphones where the element is on the side, so you got to make sure that you're talking into the element. And this is also a cardioid pickup versus an omnidirectional. So a lot of mics will pick up all around. This just picks up right in front, so I'll demo that. So if I go to the side here, I talk, you're not really going to hear me. If I talk here, you are, and here, you're not. And that's another reason why I use it, because I'm actually listening to you on my computer speakers. I'm not wearing earphones, and I would not say don't do what I'm doing, because most people aren't going to be able to get the setup to avoid the echo. And I also have decent internet, so you shouldn't hear any echo with me. If you do, then I have my volume too loud and I don't have it set up properly. But I have the mic facing me, and the speakers are behind the mic. So that's why you're not hearing yourself back, or you're hearing an echo. So that's my setup. I would recommend the microphone I went to before. In fact, I'm just going to, if I can get to it here, let me. The Audio-Technica ATR 2100 is great for anybody doing anything through their computer. And I'm just going to I'll just throw it up on the screen here real quick. Let's see. Here we are. This microphone here is great, because it's cheap and it's simple to use. It's a USB plug and play. Available on Amazon, anywhere from $35 to $50. Great sound. Night Rider is absolutely correct. Great sounding microphone. And I would say this: I'm using this microphone here is about $350. This Heil. It's a great mic. Large diaphragm. I swear by it. A lot of podcasters use it. But to be honest with you, on Blab, I defy you to tell the difference. If I'm going to get one of these ATR 2100s, and I'll do a show and I'll do the comparison. Another fellow that hangs out here a lot, Mike Phillips. I think it's his ID on Blab is MC Phillips. He's an audio master. He's been doing audio for, I don't want to embarrass him. He's a long decades, and he consults, and his specialty is audio, and he does this really wonderful demonstration using an ATR 2100, and then using he has all kinds of microphones, and on a service like Blab, I defy you to tell the difference, and that's the funny thing. The other cool thing about the ATR 2100 is it has XLR connector. So if you do want to use a mixer, you don't have to get another microphone. You can hook it up to a mixer and get even fancier. But I like it because it gives you that USB, so it gets you started right away without getting a lot of equipment.
Great. And I had one more other question. Now, I'm a paid content creator on another platform where I do my live streaming interviews. But I was thinking, a couple of Blabs, I was wearing an MTV t-shirt, and I had like 3 people say, "I want your t-shirt." And so the question was just like, okay, where's my t-shirt sponsor? How do you ever get product placement for, say, the t-shirt you're wearing, or even the mic you're using, things like that?
We're new to this show, so we haven't even gone. I don't even have a website.
In the past.
In the past. Frankly, I haven't done a lot of shows where I'm actually creating the media for my own purposes. It's something I got to do more, and this is one of the reasons why I want to do this show. I do a lot of my business is all about production and servicing clients, and so I prefer to be in the background. That's I'm more comfortable. So this is a real thing for me, just getting out there. I realize, this is what's great about video. You have to get out there, you have to talk about it. But I just like sharing this stuff, and that's really the kind of the genesis of the show is, we have some knowledge here. Maybe we can help some people, especially on Blab, and there's great community. That's the number one thing for me on Blabs. This community is great here. It's small, but it's growing and it's great. But yeah, I think that's a wonderful idea. I mean, you can certainly do it through affiliate links. If we're just taking Blab, or you can throw up the slide and do affiliates in your, like if you're doing YouTube, you can throw them down in the notes there. I would always recommend having your own site, and you might already have that, and using these tools to bring people back to your own site, because that way, no matter what happens with these platforms, and they can come and go, as you've probably seen, at least you direct people back. That's how we do our productions. We do a weekly show for a major cell carrier through an agency. That's not our direct client. We actually work for the agency, and we do influencer. We help them with their influencer marketing. So we do a live. Sometimes we're on Blab, sometimes we're on YouTube, and we always embed it on a landing page. And the community that we do it for know to go to that one address every week, and they can see it no matter what platform we're on. And then they can click through, and if they want to go to YouTube or Blab, they can do that. But at least it makes it simple for them. And I would advise everyone. I mean, Blab allows you to embed. A lot of these services allow you to embed, and I would advise everyone to build your own platform, your own site, and then get people to come there as your first core group, and then use these services as sort of like feeders, as spokes in the wheel, and bring them back. And that seems to work pretty well. And also what I find is it eliminates any confusion, because we do switch around platforms. And if we were to just put out the Blab link or the YouTube link, different, people are you want to make it dead simple. And that's what we found. Using a landing page works really well.
Yeah. Now, I just got Facebook verified, and so I was going to try.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. So I was going to try the Facebook mentions live streaming. I don't know if you can embed that.
Well, it's on YouTube. I don't know if you can or not. I don't have it yet. So I don't know if you can or yet, but I can say, just from my observation, I think the Facebook Live product is great. Have you used it yet?
Not yet. It was just last week I got verified.
Oh my God. Have you used Periscope at all, or any of the other platforms? Yeah. What I like about Facebook, though, is I think it's going to blow everything else away, to be honest with you. That's my prediction. But I think the commenting is really good because it keeps it in there. It doesn't go away. So even if you can't get to everything right away, I've been on a couple of people's Facebook Live videos, and I made comments, and they've come back later on and replied, and that's great because you don't lose them. And the second, I think the video quality is great. They use the square format, which is good. But it works really well on mobile and really well on the desktop, and it stays in your feed. And I think if people that are following you on Facebook, they get notified, so then they come in, but it stays present there, and then you can point back to it, I guess, and then you can share it on your personal profile. But it's pretty interesting. I think you're going to like it. It's a pretty interesting product.
I'm excited. I'm excited to use it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's all my questions. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Alicia. Alexia, right?
Alexia.
I'm sorry. Thank you very much, Alexia. I appreciate it.
Yay.
All right. So we're going to wrap it. Unless let's see. I think there might be Soul. You can certainly. It's okay. Put your show on my site. Absolutely. And just we don't the embed. That's what's great about embedding. Anybody who wants to embed it, that's okay with me. I think people should be more than willing to want that, because the idea is to spread your content. Especially for me, it's more about content marketing. So I want to introduce myself and make sure people know maybe what I can do and whatever, and certainly through offering tips and knowledge and things like that, and certainly Mark's the same way. So certainly feel free to embed away. And just to point out to everybody, on the page that you're watching this show on Blab, next to the tweet and Facebook buttons, there's a little button, looks like 2 carrots with a slash. That will give you the embed code, and I think they just rolled that out today for everybody. So you can embed, theory, anybody's Blab anywhere you want. So just be aware of that for folks that are doing Blabs. They can be embedded, but I think that's great. I think that's good. The more, the merrier. The more exposure you have for your content, the better. So, anyways, I'm just looking. Oh, Barb's going to come in. My friend Barb. Get her in here. Barb, how are you? I'm not sure
I
if your
turned
mic
my
is...
sound on.
Oh, perfect. Gotcha.
You know, I got chastised about my sound over the weekend, so I learned a great deal.
Yeah, exactly. I can hear you. You know, and that's the cool thing. Also, is like, but I would also, you know, if you can, I would always advise people to move that mic closer. Because it's going to give you, it's going to give you better sound. It's going to lessen the echo. I think you're using a Blue Yeti, which is a perfectly good microphone. But I would always invite. That's why my rule of thumb is I have like this 3-finger rule. So I have right about here for this particular microphone. Your microphone's a little more sensitive, so that's why we can hear. If I had the mic as far away as you did, you wouldn't be able to hear me on this particular type of mic because it's a different type of microphone. But I always, you know, you want to get it close, I think. So thanks, Rob. I really appreciate that. So Barb, how are you?
I'm doing fine. I'm getting my mixer set up, and then I'll switch to my Audio Technica. You know,
nice.
From that, that's my goal for this week. Thanks to John Preto and all the help I got over the weekend with audio.
Yeah, John's great.
Yeah. But I wanted to just remind you that, you know, we're setting up the Facebook group for the BTS Live. And I questioned because I was going to put the event up for next week because last week when we had chatted, it was my understanding you weren't really sure about timing. And are we firm on the 11th?
I think so. I think so. We were using December as kind of our test month, and you know, Mark's schedule is a lot more tight than mine. Since I work from home, I have a little bit more flexibility, certainly in when I can do shows. But Mark, since he works full time away from home, his schedule is a little bit more tight. But I think we've settled in on this 2:00 Monday time frame, at least for the time being, to do these shows going forward. Yeah.
So then I went to set up the calendar for next week's, and I noticed it was on the 21st of December, which is right before Christmas, right? Because this is the 14th. So 14 and 7 is the 21st of December.
Yeah, I mean, I expect to do a show next week. I think we're going to be talking. Yeah, I think we're going to be talking about kind of a year-end wrap of how we saw the year, and then I think our plan for the following week is do some 2016 predictions as far as video.
Okay, so we will do both weeks of December then.
That's our plan.
Okay, all right.
That's our plan. So
what I'd like to do is just I'd like to drop the link in again. I've dropped it in a couple times, but to make sure everybody joins the group, and we'll get all the infrastructure set up this week because I just wasn't sure. I didn't have the feedback on that. And is this, I think this is a given. Can we post within that group if we're having issues?
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to get and have a check in there too. I'm also, my goal, Barb, is also to set up, I have a couple domains that I bought on BTS Live. So my goal is, and our business tends to be a little slower between the holidays. So my goal, and if I put it out publicly, I guess that's a good thing. But my goal is to get at least a simple site up where I can maybe capture some email addresses. So if you know, we can at least notify folks what's going on with the show and going forward. And also the other goal is, I know there's a lot of technical stuff that we talk about here, and it's hard to take notes, and what we want to do is
show notes, right?
Yeah, and more formal show notes, exactly, and produce some downloadable PDFs for folks. You know, we talk a lot about mics and equipment, and if I can just put that in a simple PDF for folks, that might serve them well, and you know, it might help folks to be able to look at that after the show. So that's what I'm gonna work to do, because I think that would be valuable. So.
Well, if you have the slides in PowerPoint already that you used for the show today, you could just email those to me and I can put them up there for you. I don't have a problem.
Yeah, I use Keynote to do my slides. So,
I just need the images, or otherwise I have to type it in and do it myself. And and if it's already there, I'm willing to help you that way to get it started, because I think it's so important.
Yeah.
And then you guys take off on your own, whatever.
Awesome. Thanks, Bar. I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome. So you have a good week. I'm going to sign off.
You too, Bar. I'm sure I'll see you on Blab. Oh, by the way, before you go, I have to say I snuck in and I was watching you on. I think it's is it Face the Voter? I forget.
Oh my gosh! I went that fellow.
That was great. I mean, that's a difficult topic to talk about, politics. I know it's like.
But see, I'm not being a cancer survivor. I'm not supposed to get riled up. And my husband, who is very animate about his political opinions, he's texting me on the phone, and he's scared to death, that my gut's going to go off the deep end and I'm going to start bleeding from my mouth.
Oh no.
So it's like, and I told that fellow, he asked me if I'd come on and help, and that was a challenge to stay calm, cool, and collected.
I can imagine. It's a difficult topic, but you know what? If you can do it, it's certainly something that's going to get viewers.
My husband, he says, I don't want you participating in that. It'll kill you. So he promised to come in. He says, I'm not into this technology stuff, but he says, I think I can get into that one. So
Rob, it's Meet the Voter. Thank you, Rob. And you do great on the show too. I know you're part of that as well, but that's a cool example of, and talk about content. That's a cool example of what, and I don't know who Bill's show. Bill, yes. And forgive me, I don't know his.
It's Podcaster Help or something. I'd have to look it up.
Bill Conrad.
Bill Conrad, yes, absolutely.
So, I think that's a great example of what's possible. And what I like about Bill is that he's taking it serious. I can appreciate it.
He's taking it a bit too seriously.
Well, but here's the thing with Bill Conrad, and I think Rob Hicks can identify is I know what it's like to be in a network level control room. I've done it, and it's wacky, and also the preparation that goes into doing television. And Bill is doing a heck of a job, and I respect what he's trying to do, because he's trying to bring people, and most people don't have that experience, and unless you have been there, it's very difficult to relate. And he's trying to do a lot of stuff on a platform that he has two progressive hosts. And that's what makes the show good, though, because they are passionate about what they believe, and Bill and you, Rob, everyone's passionate. Politics is a passionate subject, but I can respect what he's trying to do, because he's trying to do it right. He's doing the pre-prod correctly. He's got a plan. He's spending a lot of time doing it. He's bringing people along. I know he gets frustrated because unless you have the experience, you don't know what it takes. And a lot of the stuff you do in television is stuff you don't see on the air. 99% of people never see. And if I could take, I could tell you stories about, maybe one of the episodes we'll tell stories, me and Mark, about ESPN and what it's like to be behind the scenes, because it is an absolute nut house. And that's not an exaggeration. It is a nut house. And I've been in control rooms where people have gone nose and nose. I mean, it's crazy. So especially when you're in a live environment, live news environment like ESPN is, or live sports where you don't know, it's not scripted. You don't know what's going to happen. You playing your shows out, you don't know what's going to happen. So I respect a lot what Bill's doing. And you guys, both of you guys done a great job on the show. And that's a favorite topic of mine. I took, when I was in college, I have a business management background. I took political science as an elective. That's how, I like the topic. I think it's fascinating. I'm not going to get into my leanings either way, but I think it's a fascinating topic, and so I respect a lot what you guys are doing. It's a fun show to watch. So.
Well, I just was a guest there because he needed some help, and I didn't I had no clue what I was getting into. And
Yeah.
so as far as planning went, I actually sent him a direct message beforehand, and he could have given me a link to his website that said, this is what it's about today, and this is what's happening
Yep.
to prepare me. And that is one of the things, like when Mark Rogers was talking about content last week, and I thought, this is the whole thing. Right now, we're at the end of the year. Let's talk about putting our show plans together for the following year.
Yep.
What is it you want to do with your show? And, what you're covering, what guests you're looking for, because as part of the Blab family, we can help you find the guests you need. And really, up the quality of the shows as a result of that. And having a green room blabs where we help the guests prepare to go on,
Yep.
up the quality of the blab. And so I think there's a tremendous opportunity there.
Yeah,
But that thing yesterday and putting me, it really was a...
I'm reading Rob's great in the comments.
Oh, Rob, that was a major
I agree
event.
with you, Rob. That was ridiculous. I was like, what is going on?
And if you could have seen from my side and and the phone, and my husband's concerned, and he was one of the lurkers on there.
Yeah.
And he never misses his day of work. Then he's glued to Fox television otherwise. Fox and sports, and plays golf. That's what.
Yeah. Rob makes a very good point. It's a lot of, that's why I respect what Bill's doing, because I've been there. I was not a producer. My background in the control room was I was an associate director at the master control level, meaning that I would be part of the crew on the back bench, communicating between remote, going to break, and master control, and we would manage the commercial inventory, and then we would also manage the show-to-show traffic. So, but I knew a lot of producers, executive producers, directors. I worked with them all, and I was in live control rooms, and it's a challenge. And you think that show gets heated? I could tell you stories in control rooms where it gets. There are people that are very passionate in TV and it gets pretty heated in these control rooms. And,
I'm quite familiar with that.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, and I'll tell you, it was a great experience, and even beyond TV, what it taught me was preparation is so important, and having that plan B, plan C, and that's a lot of people don't have that when they're doing blabs and they're doing live shows. Is that you have to make sure. I don't understand why people don't test out their connections. Another tip I would give people on Blab is you can go to blab.im/test-zone. And what I would recommend is always test your connection. Make sure, it's not something I have to tell Rob Hicks, because that guy is total pro, and I'm sure he's testing all the time. But and there's several people on here. But for folks that are just especially doing professional shows, make sure your stuff works before you get on.
Right.
I'll give up.
Well,
Yes.
I use the webcam software before I sign on.
Yep.
And just check. And that's actually using it. Someone was asking in the show today about, feeling comfortable talking to yourself, basically.
Yep.
That's one of the things I use to help me become comfortable with being on screen. Another was using a mirror in front of me. And another was to take a stuffed animal and putting it there as the individual I was talking to. Is just, and having something to attract my eyes to and be able to deliver the message to.
That's a good idea. I don't know for you. A lot of it's funny because I think a lot of people on Blab are introverts. I think I identify. I'm a natural introvert. I'm not looking for.
I can see that from your body language.
Well, yeah, exactly right. I'm not there, and there's plenty of people that get out there, and God bless them. They're great. They're let them do it. But that's not natural for me. But I also know that it's a tremendous tool, and if you can get over the hump of looking at yourself, and then having that's why I like Blab, because it's a great people on here that are very supportive. And we all kind of support each other. And I found a great production community here. Very supportive people, very generous as far as their knowledge. And I think people realize when they do it well, that sharing information is not going to decrease their business. It's actually going to increase it. Because that's, in fact, while we're throwing out tips, that's another tip I would give people. Freely share what you know, because the people that are do-it-yourselfers will appreciate it, but the people that aren't, we have plenty of clients that want other people to do it for them, and they'd rather use their time elsewhere. So it's either a issue of knowledge or time, and we work with plenty of people. That's what we find, and usually it's a combination of the two. And what you're doing is, by putting your information out there, you're demonstrating your own knowledge and own thought leadership on the topic. And so when people come along and say, "Oh man, I want to work with you," you already kind of proven that in some degree, and you're also helping people along the way. So I'm never concerned about giving out too much info on that, because there are people that want to do a deeper dive, and that's where the business part comes in, so.
Right. Well, I'm going to put the link in again.
Okay. And I know Rob said, "Marty, have you done enough labs to determine the optimal viewer size?" Rob, I'm not sure if you want to. I'm not sure if you're able to pop in or not. You're more than welcome to. I'm not sure what you mean viewer size. You mean the actual number of viewers or the actual video window? Here comes Rob. Good. Rob's a great guy here. We'll get him on. Rob, how are you?
Hey, are you hearing yourself?
Yes.
You are hearing yourself?
No, I'm just hearing you.
Okay. Hey, Barb.
Hi.
Hey, kudos for yesterday.
I survived.
You did well, and you embarrassed those two guys. Hopefully, I thought you did. They were just being mean.
Yeah, that's what my husband said. He's watched me dress them down on the field at times.
Yeah, you mopped the floor with them. I was really proud for you. So the question I was asking, Marty, is have you done enough blabs? I saw that I misspelled it. Have you done enough blabs to determine what the optimal size is for for behind the scenes?
You mean the audience size, or?
Yeah. So, for example, I would imagine most broadcasters are like, "Oh, well, the more the merrier." But I've also observed, coming from the video conference world, that sometimes video conferences get too big and they're not collaborative anymore. So, what I meant by the question is, if you get viewership on your show of like 100 plus, it's good for ratings and it's great for your ego. But I question what the level of intimacy and value is from the viewer, because the benefit I have right now as a viewer is that I'm not competing very much with fellow commenters. So if I ask a question, I've got a great chance of getting it answered. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But if you get viewers of like 100 or 1,000 or whatever, you're never going to get the time to address it.
I would say this. I think each platform has its own purpose, its own objective. I would say this. I think Blab, from where it stands right now, especially with this format, is particularly great for pre and post show discussions, and also these kind of roundtable discussions where maybe you can involve some of the chat room as well.
Right.
But I agree with you, Rob. I think that there's definitely a limit. I've talked to other people on here that have had very popular blabs, and they've mentioned the concern about having the comments go by too fast, where they can't pay attention as well as they should, or as well as they wanted to.
Sure.
So I think there is a limit on this, especially when it's super interactive here. But at the same time, now for me, with what I have is I can go on almost any streaming platform. So I think that's for like pros like you. I think that's going to be, and for Barb, I think that's going to be the challenge for us is, picking out the right platform at the right time and mixing them up in the right degree, I guess, for the right results. So, for example, this is great for a small setting, certainly. And I've heard rumors now. They've done some changes here. You'll notice the buttons here, tweet and post, and they're working. The rumor has it, and I've seen it today, is that they're working on a drag and drop for these windows where you can drag and drop like a YouTube video in there and play it, or a SlideShare or whatever. And also heard rumors that they're working on maybe alternate video layouts. So for me, my number one feature request would be making these windows larger, or having the option to make the host larger. Because
Right.
what I would do is I would literally do the whole show myself and just syndicate to Blab for the show content, and then maybe open up a video window or two for call-ins in the question and answer period. But I would love the opportunity to do a full 16:9 presentation and use my equipment and bring people in here and then blast it out and have some variety where I can kind of put my stamp on it. But at the same time, I appreciate what they're doing with this platform, because they're giving tools to regular people to get started. So like the alternate window where you can put in slides or questions or whatever, I think is great, because it gets people access and gets people started.
Right.
Because I use YouTube Live. I use it for clients. I'll do a full TV style show.
You're bringing remote participants in through your production setup.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, and that's something that I'm trying to figure out because I've seen Steven do that a few times. In fact,
Yep.
many times when he does his labs, he'll have like 3 of them in his little box.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's the right fit. I don't, I haven't seen enough of them to think about it, but for sure, I guess in broadcasting, you're always going to need more Indians than Jeeves. So, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, I think what I love about Blab is the immersive nature of it. So I guess I'm valuing it through my own unique angle of the collaboration side. And while I appreciate live streaming and broadcasting, I have more of an affinity of going eyeball to eyeball with people. Like I am with you and Barb right now, because to me, that's where the conversation starts.
Right.
I think this comment by Runet is a good one. I think it depends on someone on the style of the Blab and the topic under discussion. I absolutely agree, and that's why I'm so hot and heavy about getting this option to do larger video windows, because I think there's opportunity. The number one benefit for me for Blab is the community. It's small, but it's very interactive and very active and very engaging, I guess is for lack of a better word. But I would love the opportunity to have that option where you can do these kind of panels straight away, 4 boxes, and a lot of people do it that way. And then also the opportunity to kind of present some produced information and then open it up for questions. So just have some options there. But if I think they can do that, we've heard some debate about whether the value of attracting more professional broadcasters and folks to kind of evangelize for the platform. And then the other side of it is, well, making sure that it's dead simple for the regular people to get on and access video maybe for the first time. So I think you can probably do both. I like I usually use Appear.in as an example. They have that dynamic video windowing where the video windows go bigger depending on how many people you have on screen.
Right.
So depending on how I think that's going to come to Blab in some form or fashion. It's just, and I think it's going to come soon from what I hear from the chatter. So that'll be interesting how that develops. And then you got all the other platforms that I think 2016 is going to be very, very interesting.
It's going to be
huge.
What I'm going to be interested to see is what happens to Cisco in 2016, because they just announced that they bought begins with an A, Econo.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still scratching my head as to why, because I think one of the biggest upstarts that I like for video conferencing is Zoom, and I think they just
Zoom is great.
Their quality is outstanding.
Yeah,
and, for end users to think for $20, if you're a small entrepreneur, to get a license and to get HD quality like that.
Yep.
If I was Cisco, I would be like, this is, or Polycom for that matter, or Life Size.
Yep.
I mean, services like Zoom, Appear.in, like you mentioned, and Rabbit. There's a few others.
Yep.
They're just, I think, going to clean the clock. They're going to be the Ubers of conferencing and collaboration.
Yeah, really disrupting it. From go to webinar. I mean, it'll be interesting what happens with services like that, because you got all these, and I agree with, you can see what's possible what's happening right now. Like Zoom's a great example.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous service, and if that's what's possible, I mean, they're not going to be, it's going to be a very interesting playing field going forward. I mean, it's funny. I think some people are concerned that they're missing the boat, and it's like, we're just in the first inning, top of the first inning here.
Beginning.
Right.
And if you're in it now, and it was funny because I was having an off-camera conversation with Mark, and we were talking about that, and say, and he's trying to bring some shows onto Blab, and and he doesn't have a community yet here, and and he's feeling the struggle and all that. I said, well, it's just, if you think it's crazy now, just wait till next year. I mean, just not only the features on Blab, but not just Blab, but all these services and all these different ideas and the technology. I mean, the platforms are coming, and for a video guy, and I'm sure, Rob, I'm sure you share this. I mean, it's just very exciting times right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, these are amazingly. I've never done more all-nighters for fun and not non-work related in the last month than I have recently. I mean, I was literally up till 6:30 in the morning this past Saturday, and I was having an absolute blast.
Yeah,
I mean, it was just. I mean, and then I had to go to bed because I was just so exhausted. But it's this, like I said, this immersive interactive platform is just amazing, and and I think the thing that, for good or for bad, that people may or may not realize is how quickly you can grow a relationship through video and eyeball connection.
It's funny you mentioned that. Dip in real quick. It's funny you mentioned that, Rob, because all our business has all built on social media. Me and my wife, we've been involved in social media since the beginning. At least on Twitter since 2007, and as they all come along, and all our clients, 100% of our business clients and our business contacts have come from some degree of social, some channel. And what you mentioned about video is very, very important, because what I've noticed, just even Blab, for example, and I've been on Blab since July, so I've 130 some odd days, whatever it is, right? But it speeds up that relationship process because you can see the person. I mean, I just met you not too long ago.
I think it was like last week.
It's like, if we were introducing ourselves through Twitter, and same thing with Barb, if we introduce ourselves through Twitter, it would be like months, it's like going back, because you can't only see text. It's only so much you can see, but you can see and talk and hear from people. And then in the side chat and getting people to know people, it's like, I've gotten to know so many, my area is production, so I gravitate toward the geeks, I've gotten to know so many, I just hang out with people. It's like, and working from home, for anybody who works from home,
right?
Like, you need that connection sometimes. Luckily, I have my wife, and we work together. We work from home together, which is great. But you need that connection with other people in the same business, and this service has been great for that.
I think the one thing I was talking about this that is scary, though, is because you make these connections so fast, and I observed this in a Blab. I won't call it out, but there was a Blab that I watched on Friday night that kind of went sideways, where the girl was, she had her boyfriend on speakerphone. The boyfriend didn't know that she had an audience of 20 plus people.
Oh no!
And she knew she wasn't pregnant, but she was telling the boyfriend that she thought she was pregnant.
Oh boy!
Like, real,
oh.
And and I was like, it was I'll admit, I mean, it was entertaining at the time, but the takeaway on that was like, oh my God, this is really bad. This is the potential dark side, because had that boyfriend found out,
right,
this would have been, and that boyfriend reacted like I would imagine most people would be. I mean, I would have been pissed, knowing that I was the butt of the joke, where she knew she wasn't, and she was just using me as the butt of the Blab joke in broadcast.
right.
Yeah.
But that's something where I think, because with video you can connect with people so quickly that if you're not mindful of it, you can hold too much information, and people think, oh well, if I'm not recording, then it's not being recorded. But people really need to treat Blab and platforms like this with always the assumption that everything is being recorded, and that you should always be prepared for your mom to see this, or God to see this, or whatever it is. I mean, you need to treat this just like you're in a Starbucks or everything else. And,
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned that, Rob, because I was listening on Blab, and this came up as a topic where people like Facebook, when it came out, you teach your children and teach people that whatever goes on the internet is permanent, whether you think so or not.
Right.
And now with all this live streaming and video and things, and right now this show is certainly being recorded, but you don't think it is. You got to be mindful of what you're doing here, and that it's going to live down the road. It's like getting a tattoo, right? A tattoo is permanent, and then 50 years from now you might not want it. So you got to think long and hard what you want to do. This stuff is permanent. So you got to make sure that what you're doing is putting, is that what you want yourself to be represented? Now, everyone likes to have fun, but these drunken blabs and this and that, for me, it's like, I don't get it, and I think it's a lot of people that don't understand this technology. And I think you're going to regret it, after a while. Robin's a good friend here.
Aww,
but
that was nice of you to say, Marty. Thank you.
Of course, Robin.
Hi, Robin.
But you know what I mean, Rob? I mean, I'm sure you've seen the same thing. I mean, it's just.
Well, so I think that the thing that I'm fearful for, not only for myself but for people that don't maybe have the lessons learned that come to Blab, particularly young people that don't necessarily have they're thinking 5 minutes in front of their face, not long-term repercussions of what it might mean for a job application or something going viral. But the problem, I don't know if it's a problem, but the thing you've got to be mindful of is that you don't necessarily get a second chance. And if, to your point about the drunken blabs, I mean, you can go in and get trashed and in the moment appear to have fun, but then the next morning and every morning thereafter, it's there. And, I mean, I don't know. I think one of the best blabs, which would probably get 0 ratings, would be an ethics class. That's probably the wrong term, but just a cautionary blab to just kind of say, hey, these are things you might want to be mindful of. That just because it doesn't, you don't see the red record button, you always need to conduct yourself like it's recording, because it is always recording.
It's easy to do screen recordings.
And
Right.
I think that talking about kids, teenagers, young adults, that's something that schools, teachers are working on, trying to educate them that these things live. But at that age, you think nothing bad ever happens to you. I mean, that's just part of the mindset at that age, and it's part of natural development that they don't feel that those bad things will happen to them until they actually do. And it's part of the natural process so that they can go out and spread their wings and fly a little bit and make mistakes on their own and stuff. But in the digital world, it's just a little bit different. And I think it's important for adults to try to emphasize, but you have to find a way to do it, to talk to them, right? Because right now, kids who are in college who are doing these silly things online and they don't think anything of it, and it may impact when they're interviewing for a job in a year or two. But in 20 years from now, all those kids who did all those stupid things online are going to be the ones hiring other people. And so there's going to be some forgiveness there for that kind of thing too, depending on the level of it. So it's perpetually changing and stuff, but we all do need to teach everybody to, when you're online, it is considered public, no matter where you are. I don't care if it's email, text messages, Twitter, Blab, Facebook, wherever. Consider it public, and would you be okay if your grandma saw it? That's my rule of thumb. How would I be if grandma saw what I was saying, doing, or whatever? And that's what I try to teach. Now, my son, oh my gosh, he's 21. His grandmas are livid at some of the stuff that he posts on social media. but I try to tell them, and that's the best I can do. Whether or not they take your advice is a different story, but you still have to try to teach it to them. So.
Yep.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Well, one of the positive.
We've been going about an hour and 40 minutes. I'm gonna actually wrap this up because I gotta get onto some other things. But I appreciate this. Has been great. This is, I think, the most we've had. Thanks, Knight Rider. Thank you, Walter, very, very much. I will definitely see you around. I want to thank Barb Tomlin, Rob Hicks, and Robin Wright for coming in here at the end here. Some great people here, and these are Robin I've known for a few years here, working on some influencer campaigns and projects. Robin, you know that. And Barb and Rob are new friends, fairly new, that I've met here on Blab, and that's the power of this whole medium. But we'll be back again next week. We're getting this show kind of ironed out, and I'm already getting ideas from you guys and kind of the discussion coming up. And that's another thing about Blab is you get a lot of ideas and you get a lot of discussion going, and it generates ideas for future shows and future things you can do. So. Want to thank everyone. Barb, we started up a Facebook group for the show, which was great that she did that. So we're going to build that. And I already put out the challenge to myself that I got to build at least a simple website. I do have the domain, so I got to get that connected.
We all have how many domains? You got to go beyond that, Marty.
I know, right? Exactly, right? Yeah. Just fitting in between work and all that stuff. So, but anyways, thanks everyone for coming. I'll X you guys out here.
I'll just take off.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Robin. Want to thank everyone for coming again, and we'll be back next week. I think Monday at 2 p.m. Eastern time is what we're going to go with. So thanks, everyone. See you next week.